Joe, why don't you introduce yourself and your company for us?
Hey, thanks a lot, Pat. This is great. I really like this podcast concept. I think it's going to, you're going to be something special one day by doing all this. So I think it's great.
Thank you,
A
Joe.
little bit about me. I've been in this business too long, 42 years. And I was in the talent tissue industry for 20 years. And from there, I went into packaging and with Wilkinson Manufacturing, which is now B&W. From there, went with Bunzl and in the process division, and I had a great run there. And for there, I was with Sabre after that, and after Sabre, which was about a year and a half ago, I talked to Sam. He's one of my partners, and he said, Joe, he said, I don't know you, but you don't know me, but let's see if we can put something together when it comes to thermoforming. And so we got together in December, and we decided to form a company, and it's really exciting. Just glad to be here.
Yeah, anytime, Joe, when a new company is introduced, whatever they're doing, they bring some energy, they bring some innovation, things that, that you've had time to think about. Like I said, you worked for Bunzl, you had a great run here, our business, which is really good because you can at least cut to the chase and say, hey, here's what Pianca has to offer. And we look at it this way. So yeah, it's going to be a good learning experience for us. So glad to have you on.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about Pianca. We can start off, again, we want to be something different than other competitors out in the marketplace. And so the way, if you look at sales over the last, 10 years, I think there's a lot more communication between the consumer concerning the food processors, concerning the supermarkets. And I think the other thing is you have so many competitors at the same corner. I mean, you have a convenience store on the corner, you have a restaurant on the corner, you might have two supermarkets on the corner. And, again, going back 10 years ago or 15 years ago, if there was a particular product that worked well for one supermarket, all supermarkets went with it. And I think that's changing tremendously now. Everybody wants their own look. Everybody wants their own way they present the product in the shelf and stuff like that. So one of the things that, I've learned from my past with the great companies that I've been with is that you need to specialize in design and innovation. And also, you need to be able to do this in a very cost-effective manner. Manufacture thermoform containers in a manner that's going to be advantageous to the end user that's buying the product, but at the same time, it's profitable for the company that's making it.
Right, exactly. And I don't know a customer that yet, especially in the food processor industry, that doesn't want something very exclusive to them, right? And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not, because then it causes, especially coming out of this pandemic, we knew, the things that you have stocked that are available are much easier to create and get to versus something that if it's just exclusive to you, it may take a heck of a lot longer to do, correct?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's happened is if you look at the total supply chain, especially during the chaotic supply chain that it's been the last 12 to 18 months, it can happen overnight. I mean, if one segment, let's face it, there are a lot of, when you had the shipping problems from China over to the United States, there was some backlog with that. I think, especially in North America, where we've outsourced so many things, that's been a challenging because if the supply chain's backlogged, then you can't get the particular raw materials or some of those products to make the product in the United States. So what we tried to do at Pianca is try to have all of our supply chain of raw materials here domestically so that we won't have any of some of those, challenges that's been happening over the last 12 to 18 months.
Right, right. Yeah, I want to really focus in. That leads me to the next slide here. Focus in on what you guys do best and where you put a lot of your emphasis on. Before you start on that, I remember this quote that when I was looking at, we were talking offline about, there's a quote you guys had somewhere. I can't remember if it was on your website or whatever, from Steve Jobs. Packaging can be a theater. It helps to create a story. So your packaging does create a story. So, but where do you guys focus at?
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback on that one comment you said, again, I've called on supermarkets and food processors for a very long time. And, let's think, when you go in a supermarket, it's said when you look at a particular product, there's 9 to 15 seconds you look at that product, and that's going to determine if you buy it or not. So if it's fresh fruit, if it's meat, if it's seafood, I mean, packaging plays an important role in that 9 to 15 seconds. Do I want that product? And so I've kind of lived by that. And, but again, so getting back to this particular slide, the focus is help customers create food packaging to deliver on, number one, food safety. That's huge, and that's not going to go away. Supply chain performance. Well, we know how important that's been over the last 12 to 18 months. A new word, which is sustainability goals. That's 20 years ago, you wouldn't be even looking at that, but that's huge for a lot of big companies now. And then, of course, I think one of the things that we want to do different than some of our competitors in the marketplace is we want a partnership, collaboration, and coming up with unique food service containers. What we want to do is if a particular supermarket or food processor wants to come up with a new idea of something, we want a lot of people involved with that creation. And is it going to be cost effective? Utilization of the shelf space. Instead of having 20 containers, is there a way we could get 35 containers on that particular shelf space? What is going to be the key point, differentiate of that particular product standing out on that shelf? So these are some things that we really want to focus on, and we want to collaborate. And again, with a lot of different people. And that's the other thing that I'm finding is that you have marketing involved. You have food safety people involved now. You have just so many different teams with different companies and different food processors that it's a team decision, and you need to meet all those expectations of everyone on the team. Again, we are not only seeking the right customers for our products, but also the right product for our customers. If you do not see what you want, please let us know and we will meet your expectations. That's where our mantra is going to be going forward.
Yeah, and that's a good mantra, because I want to emphasize that right now, Joe. That's a great point. A lot of times when you are having these serious discussions with customers and they're going to say, hey, I know the competitor. I know, what's out there right now. What separates you from everybody else out there? Now you have something to talk about when you have these serious discussions. Everybody wants sustainability. Everybody wants to have their own product, but what, separates you guys from everybody else is so critical, where we're not having those conversations today. And one of the things that that leads me right into that comment, when you have, and I want you to talk about your management team, because this is where I think you guys start to separate yourselves from everybody else, the experience and the expertise that Pianca brings to this industry. And that's important, right?
Yeah, this is very important. I mean, and the other thing is you basically only have 3 people. So there's a lot of not, our cost is not that heavy, because again, we have this expertise in 3 people. It's not like we have to hire a whole marketing team or stuff like this at this point. So that's where we're going to be cost effective versus some of the competitors. But to start off is Sam's a founder and the president. He's had 25 years experience, and you know he grew in with two major companies that are in the marketplace today. He left them and started out on his own. And the other thing, which is important, he started off as a design engineer, and then he went into more of the manufacturing of the product and the thermoforming and stuff like that. So his core competency is design, engineering, and manufacturing, which is great. Of course, I've been in the business 40 some years at the at-home market and the away from home market, supermarkets, food processors. Again, at this point, we're just going to focus on supermarkets and food processors. But I've had a lot of experience in calling on those markets, and most recently also. And then Danny comes from us from a big manufacturer. And again, he's had 23 years of experience in thermoforming and tooling and machinery. And again, what's so special about our team is we all have each a core competency that brings something to the team. And that's what makes us special. And we're excited to work together.
Yeah, and we joke about good point there. You know, we joke about you have three people. The organizational chart's three people. I mean, there's a lot of support people behind that, but to me, that is a huge advantage. When you worked here at Bunzl, you knew that some of the suppliers that we had to deal with, there were layers and layers of business managers, and well, we can't get you that quote today. The smaller companies, the more boutique manufacturers are so much more attractive to our salespeople because they can get answers like right now. They know Joe, they know somebody at that organization. They can make a phone call, get the pricing they need. We'll talk about pricing later, where to get it from. But the whole aspect, samples, pricing, everything is of urgency, and that's what you guys bring, and that's a good thing in my book. I think it's important,
especially the last 5 months with me contacting supermarkets and food processors again. You hit it on the head exactly, Pat. The biggest frustration that they had during this supply chain challenges was communication. Because again, let's just take a supermarket that was buying from a processor, that was buying from a distributor, that was buying from a manufacturer. You had 4 people in that supply chain trying to communicate shortages and what are they going to do about the shortages. And right. The good news is I'm the man. That's a good and bad news. I'm the customer service person. I'm the traffic person. I'm the pricing coordinator. And with some of the food processors that I've talked to over the last 60 days, that's one of the best selling points that we got, is because we have one person to deal with that I can make quick decisions. Where does the shipment go? What do we need to add on to the order? What do we need to delete from the order? Communication is going to be a big advantage for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want anybody to get panicked, hey, geez, you guys are a smaller company, but there are reasons for that. And that has to do a lot with your operations, your operational outlook. Everybody has to kind of phase into this from the beginning. Of course, you want to grow, you want to expand, you want your company bigger, but you have to start somewhere, right? So let's talk about that.
Yeah, our phase 1, again, our long-term goal was to be multi-site. But our phase 1, we've opened up an East Coast plant in Whitehall, Pennsylvania, with thermoforming warehouse capabilities. And that's right outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania. So it's in the eastern part of the state. The other thing that we've done, we've partnered with a contract thermoformer facility in the West Coast. They're in Los Angeles. And one of the main materials that we're going to focus on at the beginning is rPET. Again, it goes back to that sustainability goals, which we have at the beginning of the presentation. And then the great news is timelines for product capabilities. We basically made a lot of these decisions last fall. I wasn't part of the organization at that point when they made these decisions, but we were lucky enough to order equipment and stuff like that before a lot of the supply chains happened. Right. And when we started up, we got all of our equipment in the end of April and the first week of May. And we started production last week. And one of the first products that we're going to start with is the Intact Pro hinge line, which I'll go over in just a few minutes. But as you said, Pat, you got to start somewhere. You could either buy somebody, in the market to get started, or you could, go greenfield and start from scratch. And our management team decided that we wanted new equipment. We wanted the new tooling. We didn't want to buy any old equipment.
Right.
I've worked for a lot of the companies out there in the marketplace today, and they're big, but they got some antiquated equipment, and they can't run particular cuts on containers and stuff like that. So we just went that route. And again, we're not going to be the biggest, but we're not going to be the smallest either. And the other thing that, and I keep saying this because it's important, we're not going after all markets. We're going to be very selective in which markets we want to get into, and we're not going to get ourselves in a position where we can't supply.
No, it's a great philosophy. Exactly. Because when you inherit other companies or you take over other organizations, along with that comes, their set of problems, their philosophies, things that might be outdated. You guys bring innovation, and that's what people want to hear. What's new, innovated, or innovation-wise to the market, the industry that you bring along. And that's why I was so excited when I looked at some of the notes beforehand in the presentation about and you alluded to it, the Intact Pro tamper evident system that you guys have. I really, really love this. And so this kind of opens up a new door, new possibilities for you guys. So explain this. I like this.
Yeah, the Intact Pro, again, Sam created this particular design. And of course, he's been very involved with other designs in the industry that are out there today. And we wanted to do something different. So the first thing that we wanted to do was we really wanted to be leak resistant. And so the way he did some of the undercurves of the base and also the lid, I mean, when you snap on that lid, it's leak resistant. And we thought that was very important. And then the other thing that we wanted to do was come up with a tamper resistant locking system that would do the job, but could be assembly pretty quickly in an assembly line of a food processor. And then the last component that we want to come up with is when the consumer picks up that particular product, will they look at it and say, hey, this hasn't been tampered with, and it's tamper resistant. So unless you see the containers, you can see the differences of what's out there in the marketplace, but we're very pleased with this. The other thing that we've done, we've had one major food processor have been using our product for a year, and they absolutely love it. And then over the last 90 days, we've had 3 processors, which are huge also, and they love the product. And so the feedback that we've got has been outstanding. And the other thing is there were a couple of things that we wanted to tweak. And once we wanted to get on our full production, which is happening now, we've made those improvements to the container. So we feel like that, our particular tamper resistant container is, we think it's equal or better than what's out there today.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Looking at what you have and the differences with what's out there today, totally new design, totally fresh idea. And that's what people are looking for. They want something fresh, and that's exactly what it is. The product line offering you have now for 22 and beyond, we're looking at some right here. Would it be safe to say that the niche that you guys want to get into right now heavily might be in the fresh cut industry, confection? You said salads and so on, maybe some deli dips and so on. Is that some areas that you guys will focus in on, or is that
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Again, what we're offering now, and again, you got to start somewhere. Right. And luckily, that's one of the reasons I came with Sam, is because of the design and the containers that he developed. We're going to start off with the hinge, straight wall, tamper resistant technology. Again, it's a rectangle design, and available sizes are 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and 32 in both the rectangle. Then also we have a couple of sizes in the round. The other thing that we're very, very excited about is, and again, that's the hinge line, but we've also developed a two-piece design in rectangle. It's basically going to be almost the exact same footprint as the hinge line, but it just won't be hinged. And we were really excited about that. And we're going to come out with a 24 and 32. And we should have that product in July. So we're really excited that we have both the hinge and the two-piece to offer customers.
Okay, so you were talking about this one here, like for late summer. You're talking about
this is going to be late summer. We're now kind of wanting to move this up so we can capture some business fourth quarter, when the holiday season start. And rather than come out with a larger size, in the hinge line rectangle, we decided to come out with a bowl, a square bowl, tamper resistant. And the bowl is going to be 7.5 inches a square. And we're going to offer it in the 24 ounce, 32 ounce, and the 48 ounce. I've had some customers test it. They absolutely love it. And again, it's a two-piece. It's not a hinge, but it's the exact same Intact Pro seal closure, similar to the other products that we have.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna go back one slide here because I'm gonna make a point here. I happen to be, because a lot of people are asking, why this product line? Why just these certain things right now? Why did you pick this area? And I'm not going to, speak for you, but I think what's real important to understand, the 8, 12, 16, 20, 24 ounce, and 32 ounce, these are all really basic sizes and ounces I was in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago, and we visited an account very similar to Amazon Go, Amazon Fresh, and that whole concept's coming to North America. You go in there, you buy your prepared meal for the nighttime for your family, and it has these different entree sizes that are tamper evident. So you just go in there, you pick out either the 8, 12, 6, whatever you're purchasing. So these are really popular sizes that other organizations beside Amazon Go, I won't mention the customer's name, but they were out there and they're excited about their product line, but every one of those sizes was what they were looking for in a tamper evident, something new and beyond what's out there right now. So this is a good area that you're in, Joe. I think you guys selected very well.
Yeah, I think, tamper resistance key. We felt like that we had to come out with a tamper resistant container because of food safety. I mean, that's the future, and that's going to continue. And as you said, the marketplace, there's a lot of competitors that have those sizes, but we felt like we had something different and we have something else to offer. And also, I'm not going to lie to you, the supply chain issues have caused us, to go this route also, because right now, the market is demanding more of this product than what's available out there. So that's the reason we went with that focus.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think the selected items that you've chosen to go after are ones that you're going to see more and more of these coming to light in the next 6 to 8 months with what a lot of these companies have on the table right now. Because this is the age group and the genre of people they want to go after. This is important to understand as this whole, the Seattle market, Los Angeles market, Chicago, all these markets grow where all these bigger organizations are going after. This is right up the alley. So good choice. Good choice. The last thing here I want to talk about is that your slide on building a different model. Talk to us about that.
Well, again, we have a particular product line that we have today, and if you ask me, Joe, what's going to be the product line after the square bowls, I'm going to tell you I don't know. And where we come in is, I think that's going to be visiting supermarkets, visiting food processors, and say, hey, what are you thinking? what do you think the new look needs to be? What kind of new packaging do you need for your bakery items? What kind of packaging do you need for your dips? I mean, let's face it, before the pandemic, supermarkets were booming with people deciding at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, hey, I'm going to go by the supermarket and get dinner today. And of course, the pandemic stopped all that, but all that business is starting to come back to supermarkets. And supermarkets were competing with a lot of restaurants, before the pandemic, with fresh foods and fresh, salads and, dinner and stuff like that. And that's going to continue. So again, building a different model, at this point, we're only focused on 2 markets, but building the different market is basically building something new in design and do it in a collaborative way with both the end users, with the food processor or the supermarket. So again, if you ask me today, Joe, what's something brand new? I'm going to go see customers and ask them, what do we need to do different to create something?
Right. Exactly. Important. Hey, I want to go back to a comment you made about the hinge versus the 2-piece, right? What would be, to my viewers here, what would be the difference? Why are you excited about the 2-piece, having a 2-piece? Where was that different? Where does that come in?
Well, the biggest difference with food processors, because a couple of things, if you have a big food processor and they have, they're running, let's just say 5 million parts annually, you can ship that in gaylords. And so you have a gaylord at the beginning of the assembly line of the bases, and then you have a gaylord at the end of the assembly line with the lids. And so that in itself, again, if people are so used to, let's just come up with the best design for the best price and don't consider other factors. Well, here, that's a perfect example. You're looking at, okay, we got the right container that the consumer likes, the supermarket likes it. Well, how can we make it more advantageous for the food processor? And so that's what we've done. The other thing, when you have a 2-piece container like that, you can run more at a time. So cost effectively, it's going to be cheaper than a hinge container. So again, those are 2 perfect examples of how, if you look at the complete total cost of the supply chain, what makes a product different than the other product, there it is, Pat.
Yeah, no, I love that, because the fact that it actually came up about a month ago with one of the one of the customers we were with that said, hey, listen, 80-20 rule, 80% of our volume is in smaller scale, 8, 12, 16. But one of our biggest customers happened to be Trader Joe's, and I believe the other one was Costco they were talking about, where they have a 24 and a 32 ounce put up. And they go, a lot of stuff goes into that container, and we don't want a hinge container. We want a 2-piece. And you'd be surprised how many manufacturers will not go after that business, even though it's a huge demand. Especially you have the 2-piece, you have the double stacked you get inside Costco, whatever it is. And that's what they're looking for. And that's a huge put up right there. So,
Huge put up. But again, it's one of those things, we want to create products that everybody in the supply chain's happy with and cost effectively.
Good. Did we miss anything? What about, let's talk about as far as lead times right now. And again, I'm not going to hold you. No one's going to hold you to this because of the fact that nobody can be held to lead times, but what's typical right now for you guys?
Typical lead time is, 5 days, for product. We're in a startup position. And again, this is where I want to do something different concerning the model. I want to build a great forecasting system for our customers so that we have a forecast, an own running forecast for 6 months, but we have a system in place where we can adjust it monthly. And because my last previous job, they did a fantastic job when it came to forecasting. And if there's enough communication between people in the supply chain, if you get the right forecast, nobody runs out of product. Nobody does.
Right.
And that's what I'm really excited about, is what kind of different model we can build for forecasting.
Right. And that is critical. That was one of the most important things that came out of the pandemic, was how important, especially forecasting, is to an organization. Really important. So pricing, we talked offline, you and I talked offline before the podcast. Anything that has to do with pricing and or samples, you want the Bunzl salespeople to go directly to you?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, directly to me. Correct.
Okay. And I'm going to give out your email address right now, which happens to be jselzer@piancapackaging.com. And I'll spell that out for everybody. JSELZER at Pianca, PIANCA, packaging, PACKAGING.com. And in the smart room, we'll have your information, your phone information, also how to get hold of you there if they can't get hold of you by the email address. So would I forget anything?
I think you got everything. I just now want to be able to help y'all out.
Well, I want to get you real busy, because I know there's a lot of opportunity here, especially for what I've seen over the last couple of months with some of these new startup companies that are looking exactly for something new innovation, other than what they can see today. And there's not a lot of great alternatives out there. And I think you guys have a good solution, especially with the intact solution. So
well, Patrick, it's been great catching up with you, and I've really enjoyed this time together. And thank you so much for introducing Pianca Packaging.
No, pleasure to have you back on again. It's been a while, and I'm glad we were able to put this together and get some information out of you. So appreciate it, Joe. Thank you very much for your support so far. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Pat.
All right.